Hawks as our team, even though we've been here for over 10 years, because we don't originate from here. But being from Idaho, I don't have a team. We don't have a team in Idaho. So I try to claim the Seahawks as my team. But now that the Kraken is starting up, and it's starting up while we're here and now, I could officially, according to his rules, acclaim them as my team.
Let's see. What is your favorite color, Carli?
My favorite color is red in general because it goes with everything. You can use it in clothing, in fashion, red goes with everything, as well as in home decor, red goes with everything in my mind. But my actual favorite color, like if I was to paint a room, would be like a subtle gray purple.
Ooh, pretty. Maybe on a different call. My kitchen is literally red, so that would be fun. So obviously it was one of my favorite colors too. And what is a hobby that you enjoy outside of home interior design?
So I want to bring this up because it's not really a hobby, but I touch on it later, is that I really like thinking about emergency preparedness. And so, well, it's not really a hobby. It's something that gets me excited and I get into.
Really? That is different. Huh. That's wise to think about. And it's very wise with our sons and daughters, particularly, that, we might have an extra step or two that we would have to consider.
Yeah.
Huh. What is your favorite thing to do in the Pacific Northwest?
So as I mentioned before, I have a son that is 9 years old. And so we love to play outdoors. He loves the water. So we go to the beaches and to the lakes as much as we can in the summer. And then we also just love to have family movie night.
Oh, nice. Nice. Do you just have the one boy?
Yep, just the one only child.
Yeah, same here. The one. Let's see. Why did you get into designing interiors?
I took a class in high school that really kind of exposed me. I loved the history about it, and where it came from and where it looks to be going is always fascinating to me. So I really enjoyed that. When I was quite young, I was forced to be in a bedroom with rust-colored carpet, and I hated it. And so so my mom helped me out by coming up with some really pretty drapes and a pretty covering for my bed that was peach, that made the rust palatable. So that was my first taste of, what interior design could do.
Aw, that's a great story. Aw. Let's see. And what is the mission of your company?
So what I love doing, and that's really the best part about the work that I get to do, is to just really help people to enjoy their homes and make them as functional as they can for them and for their families.
Awesome. How old were you? So you said you got the idea when you were in high school, and then that was my question. How long have you been doing this then?
So doing this exactly over 10 years, but I did go to college for design and study design. So I've been in the industry about 20 years. I started in commercial interiors and did some hospitality work, so like hotels and restaurants.
Wow.
And then I found my passion for access and for universal design, and that's what brought me into residential.
Oh, wow. So that's not very often that people end up doing, right, what they liked at a young age, and then this long. Good for you.
Yeah, I consider myself lucky, definitely.
Wow. Then one more question. Do you have a particular connection or relation to someone with a developmental disability?
No, I don't actually, not like within my family. I had the opportunity when I was younger to babysit a girl that was just fantastic, that I knew in the neighborhood, that she was had Down syndrome. So that was a really great opportunity, just my first exposure. And then since then, I've had a lot of people that I've worked with and had the opportunity to get to know.
Wonderful. Well, great. Well, we're excited to turn this over now completely to you and your PowerPoint of whatever you'd like to share about the accessible home modifications through universal designs. Thank you so much for doing this tonight and taking the time to do that. We are recording as we said earlier, so and all of you have your mics off already, so we'll keep those off and request that you, for now, put your questions in the chat, and as things come up, we'll take breaks and I can read those to Carli and she can answer them, and or later on, if you'd prefer, we could turn the recording off and you could ask for ask your questions specifically verbally then. So thank you so much for doing this, Carli.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for having me. This is a really great opportunity to get exposed to your community and all the great things and the great work that you guys are doing there. So I'm really excited to talk to all of you and get to know you tonight. What I'm doing tonight, the presentation is it's just an introduction into interior design, an introduction into what we call in the industry as home modifications. So what we'll do is just touch on some topics, get your feet wet on things that we can do to modify our homes and make them work better for us and safer for us. And then if there are things that you want me to expound on, I'm happy to come back another time and do that where we have more time. So today we're just going to touch on a lot of different things. And I hope that each one of you will be able to just find at least one takeaway that you could go and kind of be empowered with and do a little change or safety modification in your home for yourself or your loved ones. And if there are questions, be sure to put them in the chat, raise your hand virtually, and Darla will make sure we get, sorry, not Darla, Brenda will make sure we get to those tonight. So where I want to start, and it's going to take me just a minute to share my screen and to bring up my slides and present mode. So I just want to hear from Brenda. Is that visual? Can you see my slide okay?
Yes, it's perfect.
Do you see anything in the way that's blocking words?
No.
Okay, excellent. Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So getting started, I did want to let you know that I've been in the industry and I started with commercial, and it has what really kind of exposed me to ADA guidelines. Now, those are the guidelines that are out there for commercial design and for federal buildings that regulate really the access into buildings. That's not the same case for residential, and we'll talk about that more a little bit later, but it's really what got me into loving access and designing for access. And I've had the opportunity to work on a wide range of projects, and I really just enjoy the most getting involved in really the tiny little details that are the nuances of what we experience in the environments we're in, and then coming up with great solutions that solve problems and that are functional and bring us more safety. So that's what I wanted to get into tonight. So tonight we're going to explore how you make your home work for you. We're going to talk about accessible and universal design, what those things are, and then the ideas that we could point out in different areas of our home. And then we're going to bring it all together in the end. We will be taking two 5-minute breaks. And I'm not sure exactly what time those will fall in, but I'll let you know when those breaks come up. And at that point, you can stretch, fill your popcorn, whatever you need to do. I know that Zoom meetings can be exhausting, and so it's good to take a minute to stretch. So here I am with my family. This is my little boy, and yes, this is one of my favorite pictures that I would want to share with you tonight. He's a delight. He's a lot of fun and keeps us moving, that's for sure. So one of his favorite things to do when he gets home every night from school is to drop his backpack on the floor along with his coat, throw his COVID mask in the air, and kick off his shoes. It's quite literally kicking off his shoes in the air. After all that, he'll run off and wash his hands. His washing his hands is not his favorite part, but he does it for us still. But a source of frustration for me is the items that are left lying about the entryway. I come along behind and pick up or clear the floor area. I've been that mom. I'm trying not to be that mom anymore, and really, give him the tools he needs to be an adult. So what we've done recently is to make a place for all of the items that he knows where they should go. He doesn't understand why they can't be left on the floor, aside from making mom happy. I've tried to explain to him that if there were a fire in the night and if we needed to get out of our home quickly in the dark, we would have a real challenge not hurting ourselves getting out the door. So I talked to him and I tried to explain, what if his shoes went on the shoe shelf in the closet? And what if his coat went on the dinosaur themed coat rack that's set at his height? And what if his mask went in the dirty mask bin by the walk-off mat? What if we prepared even a step further to get out of the house in an emergency quickly, and we had a pair of shoes under our bed, and we had a flashlight ready to grab? This would make it easier to avoid falls when trying to get to the door quickly, and it would keep our walkway surfaces clear. I would be finally satisfied. Then, if there were a fire in the night and we needed to escape quickly, we would have a clear path and the tools we need. I tell this story to illustrate that our environment has an impact on our well-being in so many ways. Sometimes we are easily frustrated or irritated by our surroundings without even realizing it. Tools can help us overcome these obstacles, and as a result, often our safety is increased. Designing and planning our space to function for us and work best for our needs is what makes a house a home. The what if scenario is being proactive. We organized our needs at the entry of my home. Second, we set supports in place. And third, we plan for what scenarios would come and what we might need in addition. This is a very simplified version, but it works the same for many things you might want to change about your home. This is how we plan for remodels and home modifications. First, we gather all the information regarding the needs of a person, their space, and the function of a space. Second, we come up with the ideas and solutions. We brainstorm. Third, we run through those scenarios and put the solutions to the test. Of course, there's more to the design process, and we complete that over time, and implementing it can take some help and it can take some time, but sometimes we can do it on our own with our own resources. The idea here is to not get frustrated. Make a plan. Too often, we implement changes in our spaces or in our homes in a reactive way. We call this the Band-Aid approach. When the dog starts scratching holes in the sofa, we throw a blanket over it. When grandma can't come to our house for a visit because of the stairs at the entry, we borrow a metal ramp. Some of these things can be planned for, and appropriate solutions can be designed into the space. For example, as shown in this picture, it looks as if the existing steps might have been cut in half to accommodate a ramp. Couldn't that have been planned for before? And then also with this ramp, oh, it looks like there's a line through it. Sorry about that, but you can kind of see the ramp over here if I use my arrow to point to it. This is quite a steep ramp, so it might be a challenge for grandma to get up that steep ramp. It's hard for people with low stamina or even people using a walker mobility equipment to get up something that's very steep. So one design approach, which considers the diverse needs and abilities of all people, is called universal design. Our surroundings should be accessed, understood, and used to the greatest extent possible by all people, regardless of their age, size, ability, or disability. Universal design is creating spaces that everyone can use. Over the past 40+ years, significant efforts have been made to increase inclusivity and accessibility in the built environment. Civil rights laws like the ADA raised awareness to this need and have helped to decrease discrimination due to physical barriers. Universal design aims to go further and better support the needs of all people. Simply put, universal design is good design. So where do we start? I would like to start talking to you with just a few general principles that we use in designing universal and inclusive spaces. First, we'll talk about getting around. Then we'll talk about the little things that make the difference. And then we'll talk about from hard to soft, some different kinds of finishes and materials that we'll use. So let's start with getting around. This is not my son, but I thought it was an adorable picture. What if you sprain your ankle skateboarding and you're entering your home for the first time on crutches or a knee scooter? Would you have the space to get in and turn around to close the door? An ADA standard we use to plan for mobility equipment in a space is called the circular turning space, and the standard is 60 to 67 inches in diameter. While the Americans with Disabilities Act does not have standards or codes for residential buildings, we can use these standards as a reference in our homes to help us make them work for us. The intention behind the guideline is to accommodate turning space for a person using a wheelchair. Consider also a caregiver walking alongside an elderly grandmother or a young mother entering a home with a stroller. Wouldn't the extra space and entry be helpful for many people? This slide shows how an open kitchen could be versus a kitchen that has a large island in the center as two contrasting spaces. Oftentimes, kitchens get designed with a large island, which are great and they can function excellently, but often it fills the center space of the room and leaves little area for two people to use the space at the same time, let alone somebody that needs a walker or a cane or scooter. Sometimes it seems like the last thing anyone considers is the space to move around. To call attention to some of the dimensions we consider when planning the size of a doorway, for example, and the space it takes to maneuver around that doorway, we like to see a clear width door opening of 32 inches wide. That way, if you have your arms full, this is showing like a bathroom entry. If you had your arms full of towels or things that you're going into the bathroom with, you have space that you don't have to bump your elbows. The circulation within like a straight narrow walkway would be like 36 to 42 inches for a hallway. And then the minimum turning space, which I mentioned before, we like to see 67 inches. That's gives you space for like a turn if you're using a wheelchair. But again, not just thinking about mobility equipment, just the ease of use, having more space to move around. This is a picture of a house that my dear friend lives in Arizona, and she bought this home several years ago. It's a beautiful community. It's very visible, walkable. The home has high ceilings and had perfect extra rooms that they needed for their family in this home. My friend uses a power wheelchair, and the master bathroom shower access was less than desirable. But they purchased the home anyway. Everything else was great. She was not able to access the shower for her, personal hygiene. Typically, her husband would lift her into the shower and out of the shower, put her in a shower chair and bring her out. Well, that got tiresome. And so she and her husband decided to work with a contractor to work to achieve a curbless shower. And this is what he provided. Do you see the step up into the shower pan? She was devastated when it was completed. She felt she had been clear on what she had wanted. He had created a larger shower area, yes, larger than the 3x3. However, the entry was very narrow and she had to step into the shower floor. My friend tried to make it work, but it was challenging and unsafe for her husband to carry her in through the small opening, trying not to bump her head, and then out on a wet floor, carefully as not to slip. Ideally, she would have been able to use the shower chair that's shown there, that's on wheels that could go in and out of the shower room safely. She relayed this whole story to me when I was happening to pass through on a trip, another work trip that I was down for in Arizona. And she said, Carli, you do this. What can I do? What can we do that would make this better? So what we came up with was an inexpensive solution that is still working for her today. So this is an image of what we came up with. This is a recycled rubber ramp that can be customized to the dimensions needed. So we were able to ask for the exact size for the width of the opening that she had. And then because it's rubber, we could cut the corners to make it fit perfectly right in the space so there was no gap. While this is a great solution and easy to use in many cases, and it's working well for her, In this situation, it became a reactive Band-Aid approach because it wasn't planned for the way that the contractor could have done. And so what I wanted to point out here is that it's a great solution, but maybe not the best up front.
Carly, could I ask you to slow down just a bit?
Sure, will do.
Alright.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So with this image, I wanted to show these contrast of colors on doors. In speaking about getting around from one area to another, I would like to address also the challenges some people face in finding their way from point A to point B. It's not all about thresholds and ramps. Some of you may have had the experience of visiting someone's home. You ask where the bathroom is, and you're given a whole list of instructions on how to get there. Have you ever wished someone could just hand you a map of their home because it is too hard to find the bathroom? As human beings, we use our cognitive abilities and physical senses to orient ourselves in a physical space, and then we're able to find our way from place to place. For different people, we use different senses. But as shown in this image, there are ways to draw attention to certain areas of the home. For some people with spatial disorientation, getting lost in one's home can be a real challenge. We can clearly mark critical areas such as the bathroom or areas that are accessed frequently. Sometimes we want to draw a person's attention away from areas that are maybe off limits, such as exit doors. And this is a way to discourage unsafe wanderings. While some people think what makes a home wonderful is a great kitchen, a fun family room, or a luxurious bathroom, we can see that it is also about the spaces that connect these rooms. Wide hallways and doorways that support access and getting from one place to another. Take a moment to think about the spaces in your home and the pathways to and from those places. What can be done to make getting around easier? Can you lay out the furniture in the living room or bedroom to gain room to move? Can you subtly provide direction to the most used rooms in your home? Accessible homes are not made so only with grand design elements, but also with attention to detail. So I want to talk about some of the little things that we can do. This shows images of home systems and how we might control noise levels and lighting. Have you ever entered into a new space and the lights were not on? It is very disorienting as you feel along the walls in search of a switch. To increase one's sense of security, consider using sensors so that lights turn on when a person enters the room. Planning ahead for these devices is the best way to ensure that they're attractive and functional. Lighting that directs your way can be sophisticated. Illuminate the path of travel on stairs and in long hallways. Emergency lights can be found in smoke detectors with built-in light sources. And as I noted before, I am one of those who likes to prepare for an emergency. A home is one that is accessible. An accessible home has a variety of lighting fixtures for flexibility and layering of light. There are appropriate levels for different tasks. A room that is too bright can be off-putting or even cause additional glare and problems with perception. I like to specify several different types of light in each space. General or ambient light that can be on dimmers to make the room brighter or more muted. Task lighting for work surfaces and areas where optimum sight is needed. This can reduce eye strain, and the use of pendant lighting can be used as task lighting as well over tables. Accent lighting adds interest to a space, and by focusing on different points in the room, such as artwork or plants, it will highlight different corners of the room. I recently worked on a project where the husband was at work on the computer all day. At night, he would get terrible headaches and was very sensitive to light. We were able to modify all of the lighting in the living and kitchen areas so he could still be part of the family, making it flexible enough enough to make it dark enough for him that he could tolerate the lower light levels and be comfortable for his needs. Just skip through these. Lighting controls have become quite high-tech, from backlit rocker switches to programmable dimmers and controls for atmosphere settings. There are even keypad buttons with functions imprinted in Braille. Use an image of, in the image, I'm showing the contrast of a different paint color in the background with a light faceplate. And that contrast really helps people to be able to see and differentiate, where is that light switch? Here it's shown with that outlet as well. And that really improves the visibility. After lighting, before I go on, is there any questions that anybody wanted to bring up so far in the presentation? Oh, I love this, Carrie. I should do a class on emergency preparedness. Thank you. Great, thank you. Let me know if there's any questions that pop up, Brenda. Okay, so thank you. So with this slide, we find also very important in the home are noise control, temperature, and humidity levels, as well as air filtration systems. Easy to use controls are important for effective comfort, safety, ease of use, and operating costs. Heating and ventilation systems can cater to homeowners' needs. Some of these factors can be very off-putting, as I like to put it. When it's too hot, it can affect someone negatively. When the ventilation system is too loud, it can be overstimulating. So we use these controls to make them the best that they can be for us. And we like to, as we go into homes, if there's a remodel needing done, or even just new system added, what can we do to make those systems work the very best for us and have the ultimate control that we need? And these days, children love smart technology, so oftentimes they're better at it than us. And the idea of having some control over their environment makes them very happy. So we do want to choose controls that are intuitive and that can meet our individual needs. Oops, I jumped ahead. As the home supports many different activities, so it can support appropriate sound levels throughout different spaces. Our homes have different zones, really. The social active zone in comparison to the quiet or private zones. Consider locating zones, loud zones separate from the quiet zones in our home. For example, the kitchen dining area might best be on the opposite side of the home from the bedrooms. For families or roommates who bond over cards or karaoke, an entertainment game room might need some sound dampening materials because gaming can get pretty noisy. This can help soften the echoing in a room with soft finishes in the space, such as wall coverings. In new construction, the building structure can be modified actually to enhance acoustic values. And I have worked with children that love to be included and be part of the party, but being bombarded with all the noise and sounds can be overstimulating or uncomfortable. So we have found that implementing some of these acoustic absorptive materials really help in those scenarios. A client I'm currently working with is very sensitive to noise. His sleep schedule is such that he is awake part of the night and asleep in the morning when other members of the house are up and moving around. Lack of sleep causes him pain along with an anxiety. For sleep rooms, carpet and window coverings can help to reduce unwanted sound, both internally and from other parts of the home. Renovations do offer opportunity for sound dampening solutions as well, such as a relocation of closets between rooms. The additional walls and clothing can provide quieting barriers. Going on to the next section, from the hard to the soft. For many, this is the most fun part. Choosing flooring, paint colors, and fabrics is the part where you get to touch and feel and make a visual impact. Material and finish selections support all of the elements we've already spoken about. For example, selecting the right materials and colors can have a major impact on creating an inclusive home that's comfortable for everyone. For example, carpet can be added underfoot for comfort. It also provides warmth and sound absorption. A tight loop carpet, or what is called a Berber texture, has a nice, steady, yet soft feel underfoot. And then we like to use it with a synthetic fiber pad underneath, which extends the life of the carpet and will save money on future replacements. Additionally, we use a solution dyed carpet that repels stains with less maintenance. Looking at this image, we can see an abundance of textures and finishes in this space. The shag rugs are textural and rich. However, they could cause a tripping hazard. A Berber rug might be a better option. Another step would be to set the rug down at the same level as the surrounding hard surface, so that the transition between the two materials is even and level. This hard surface flooring looks like it's quite smooth. It has a shiny sheen and might cause some glare. You can see a little light reflection off in the left corner. Universal Design Best Practices recommends finishes which assist in orienting oneself and not the opposite. Textural or matte finish tile would have been—
Can you say that last sentence again? What'd you say?
Oh, sure, yes. The Universal Design, our best practices would recommend that finishes should assist us in orienting ourselves around the home and not do the opposite of distract us or put glare in our eyes. So in this scenario, textural or matte finished hard surface flooring, whether it's tile or something else, would be both more skid resistant and also glare resistant. This brick fireplace is a nice rich texture and reduces glare. So that's a good example of what that might be and adds a great emphasis or focal point in this room. In considering finishes that support everyone in the space, we like to create a contrast in the colors of horizontal surfaces. This image shows a glass surface, which can be quite distracting on the coffee table there, as you see the floor through the glass, and it makes it hard to differentiate where you're putting items on the surface, for example. Another fun part of my job sometimes when working in residential and working with families is to help them live cohesively. There's a story of a husband who was complaining to his wife always because she kept spilling things on the floor. Well, she had developed cataract and could not differentiate the horizontal plane of the counter and the horizontal plane of the floor because they were the same tone of or value of color. They found that once the counter and floor were two contrasting colors, like light on the counter surface and dark on the floor, that the spills were much less frequent. Colors can also help us with spatial disorientation. If we contrast our walls with doorways, it helps distinguish room entries or openings to a room and space. Another thing we can do is to install baseboard molding on walls that contrast with the wall and floor, which also helps to prevent confusion and really helps people to differentiate between the horizontal and vertical surfaces in their space. And then another great solution that's out there, I mean, have any of you ever either been in a doctor's office or at home, rubbed a chair back against a wall and it ruins the paint surface or scuffs the paint surface? But there are these durable materials that are out there that can be used in the home and look very residential. They're attractive. They're like a plastic PVC material that are scratch resistant, and they reduce wall maintenance. So you can create a nice wainscot effect. You can add what are called corner guards to the corner of the walls. And in these two scenarios, it shows on the left that they stand out because I wanted you to be able to see them, but you really can select colors of corner guards. There's a whole bunch of different colors that can protect corners of walls in your home, especially if you have things going through the home like equipment, strollers, wheelchairs, those kinds of things. Okay, it's popcorn break time. So if you guys want to take just maybe 5 minutes to stretch if you need to, or jump in if Brenda wants to stop the recording, we can have open questions. Okay, so this is when I wanted to take time to actually hear from everyone out there and talk more about your happy place in your home, or what are some of the things that you like to do there at home. if you're willing to share by raising your hand and speaking up while we're recording, that's great. If not, you can just put it in the chat, however you're comfortable.
So the question is, what is our favorite or our happy place in our home?
Yeah, in your home, or what's your favorite thing to do? If it's not really a happy place, what's your favorite thing to do? Is anybody raising their hand?
No.
Okay. Nobody
I
wants
know,
to share?
I know earlier in the chat there, I remember seeing
Oh, good.
crafting and sewing.
Oh, good.
So it's in the chat there.
Okay. Sorry, I'm missing that.
No,
So
that's
sorry,
okay.
say it again. Sewing?
Sewing, I
Okay.
think, was mentioned by 2 people,
Oh, great. Great.
and crafting.
Crafting.
um,
Good. We'll bring that up then as we go through and talk about
Music.
oh, nice. Is that listening to music, or is that actually playing an instrument?
Listen, it says. Listen.
Okay, listening to music. Nice.
And watching movies, baking, reading, cooking, and light yard work. Some light
great.
yard work. Wow.
Yeah, good. That's tough right now at this time of year in the Pacific Northwest.
The one more says, particularly she likes her, oh, wonderful. Their son plays music as well.
Oh, good.
And the happy place is big trees, beautiful colors, and seeing the plants outside. And the favorite place from this student is kitchen, craft room, and her garden.
Good.
Wonderful, yeah.
Good. So I hope that as we're talking about some things that you'll be able to relate to maybe why is that space your favorite? Is it only the task that you're doing or the thing that you're doing that is helping you to enjoy that? Or are there other factors, in the atmosphere and your surroundings that's really helping that become something that you enjoy, something that takes you away from daily stresses? What are the environmental influences that are creating that for you? Because I want you to think also about how you can do that and try to create some of those spaces for your loved ones or the other people in your home that might not consider how to make those spaces for themselves and what might work for them. So for example, my son, one of our favorite things to do is to read stories at bedtime together. And it's just a tradition that we get in the large bed in our home, the family bed, we call it, and have our story time. So because I myself feel like I enjoy reading in bed, it's a very comfortable place for me. I always set up my blankets so I'm really comfortable and warm. I have a light so that I can read comfortably and not get eye fatigue. And so I've tried to create that same space for my son. So there might be other ways that you can create more of a great science station if your family's really into science, or the crafting, like you said, sewing, other things that could help share what you love with the others in your space. And then as we go forward with the presentation, we will also talk about some of those areas and what could make them great or better than they already are. So I want to talk a lot about the entry to our home because it's really important to be able to get in the door. The transition between the outdoors and the entrance has a lot going on usually. And this picture here shows where I've crossed out some things that were not my favorite part, but they're okay still, because what we have going on here is a really great no step entry. Like, this is a great walkway that doesn't have to have steps to get up to the doorway. Now, what I don't know and I can't tell in this picture is there maybe a high threshold that makes a little bit of a tripping hazard as you go in the door, and the rug could be that. And then this chair might get a little bit in the way of our room to move that we were talking about before, you know, our 67-inch turnaround or how we get up to the door. But what's good about these two things that I've crossed out is that they're temporary things that could be moved out of the way and could be done away with if need be. For now, they're adding, you know, a welcoming and inviting influence, as well as this little plant pot here. So that's one thing just to consider as you're wanting to get into your house. What do you have around that front entry that might be causing a problem that you're not even really thinking about? So what is generally desired is the sloped walkway or ramp is preferable to stairs for an accessible path. And a continuous walk surface from the street into the home is inviting and welcoming. So this image here shows that that can be, you know, well done and be so, where it's not, this ramp does not become really the focal point at the front of the home. You know, barely see it when you're standing off across the street, but yet it is there and it makes it quite accessible. So again, I go back to, it doesn't have to be wheelchair use. It's great that it would accommodate wheelchair, but also think of coming home with your groceries and you want to put them on a little cart and cart them up the ramp to get up to your door instead. So there's a lot of different uses, and that's what makes it universal design, is how great it can be for so many different people. And the length of the ramp would really be determined by, you know, the height of the doorsteps, how many steps you have. So in some areas you need to have a longer ramp to make it much more easily to be used. But that would depend on the home and the height of the home. This is a great image of a log cabin that also demonstrates that it doesn't have to be this big eyesore at the front of the home. It was integrated pretty well. This woman raises goats in Eastern Washington, and she needed a ramp for entry, but she had the attitude of, don't mess with the look of my custom log cabin home. So we were able to come up with a solution that integrated the ramp nicely with her existing porch. It was easier for her and also her aging dog to then be able to use the ramp for the entry. I also like to point out in this image that the porch is covered, and that's a great feature that helps keep a person out of the elements while they might be holding groceries and fumbling for their keys and trying to get in the door. It's nice to not have, you know, snow or sleet or rain pouring on you at that time. I also like to include a package shelf that's on the outside of the home or near the doorway where you can set something down so that you're able to put something down while you're searching for keys. And then of course, a porch light is great for safety and convenience when transitioning from a dark exterior onto a light area in the home. This is a really great example of an out-of-the-box solution for access to the home. And it looks like there might be impossible access to get to this house. It's in the Ballard area of Seattle, and the lots there are very tight. I mean, the car on the left is really in their neighbor's parking lot, so or driveway. So they didn't have much space for trying to put a ramp anywhere, and they really didn't want a big eyesore of a ramp. And so our design solution, the scenario was that there was a gentleman and he had been diagnosed with a debilitating disease. And so he and his wife got by the best they could as long as they could using the stairs. And then it came to the point where he could no longer use the stairs. So this solution that we came up with is called a vertical platform lift. And the place that it is located quite discreetly is right inside their garage. So you see this red door, that's their garage door. So if you were to open that garage door, you would see the opposite side of this door here. You could almost see the windows of the garage down here to the right, left dark, or the right dark spot. And with that vertical platform lift would take him up just one level to where he could get to a place where he could come out. So this lift comes out, and it's called a vertical platform lift, not an elevator, just because it doesn't require a full shaft. It really supports itself. It's an independent standing lift. So I'll go to the next slide. This is not the home, but this is the idea of the lift, is that it can take you from one level up to the next without having to build a whole thing around it. Now they wanted to build something around it to make it that much more discreet. So this covering right here is just the shell of what really kept the platform lift out of the rain here in Seattle. But it shows, oops, sorry, wrong direction. But it shows really that he was able to get to the next level. Now, what I don't have shown is that from the next level, he was able to then get up to this level with a second vertical platform lift here through this doorway. And then he was able to enter the main level of his home, which was his living level. And it all was at the back door. So you didn't have to see anything from the front. Nobody needed to know your business about how you're getting in and out of your house. And he was able to access it. It became a great solution. And it wasn't that as expensive as what an elevator might have been to try to install an elevator in the home. So one more thing I want to talk about with the entry, and we already mentioned the stepless entrance into the home. So this is a good example of that. We also want to talk about the width of the doorway. So especially of all the doors in our home, we want those to be the widest because we are bringing all of our gear in through those entry doors, whether it's our front door or garage door, make it as wide as you can. And you can modify that later. So if you feel like currently in your current home that the door is pretty narrow, that can be modified, depending on the architecture surrounding it. But what we like to see definitely is that nice 36-inch width with a clear and level space on the outside and on the inside to keep you from, tripping or falling or sliding as you're making the transition from indoors to outdoors. Now this is showing some features of doors, whether it be the front door or other doors in the home. This shows a lever handle, and it can be unlocked and manipulated more easily than a handle that's a doorknob, is what we typically see at home. So a helpful exercise could be to go through your home and think about anything that you want to use in your home or a place where you pass through. If you can manipulate or use the item with one hand and does not require tight grasping, pinching, or twisting of the wrist. This is called the closed fist principle. So this is what we use. So if you all just were to, make a fist with your hand right now, and you could go through your home and test out your doorways and see which doors you can open and close, or which appliances you can open and close with the closed fist. If you can get these things open and close with the closed fist, you're in a pretty good situation. If not, you might want to consider changing some of those levers. And then this image on the right shows two what people call peepholes or door viewers at two different levels. And you can see how this young girl is able to use it, not typically which use it at the same time as her father, but that children are able to use a lower peephole level without having to pull up a chair or a ladder to view out. So it's a safer way of viewing out the door, as well as it's a great lower position for someone that might be checking who's there from a seated position. Barn doors have become really popular, so some of you might have already found them to be a useful solution in your home. The big box doors do have great hardware for this, so that you can have either exposed hardware, or it can be hidden behind a cornice. But they're great because they clear up some floor space. Typically, when you have a door swing, it swings in or out of a room and it takes up door space, whereas a sliding door hugs the wall and clears up some circulation. Another thing you could do, depending on the scenario in your house, is to either just change the swing of the door or try one of these surface mounted doors. Another great solution is this hardware that is either a offset hinge or a swing clear door hinge. Rather than having to modify an opening, if you just need a couple more inches in a doorway to get it wider, you can increase it by using some of these. And what this does is the thickness of the door, you can see in the bottom right image, is set so that when it swings open, it's behind the jamb rather than to the side of the jamb. Typically, you can gain an extra 1.5 to 2 inches by using some of these hinges. We do recommend using 3 per door, And on most doors, we recommend 3 hinges just because a lot of people will use door handles or the door for stability to stable themselves as they walk into a room. And so you want to make sure that those hinges are secure so that they stay in nicely. Talking about going between levels, this is the elevator solution. This is showing it in a really contemporary home. So they went with the chrome finish, but you can do home elevators that have a really nice, beautiful wood finish, or even just look like another door to the home. Putting in an elevator when it might not be needed, if you have 2 levels, would be an absolutely proactive approach, because you can still use that elevator to get your laundry up to a level or down a level, or get kids' toys up a level or down a level, but also just planning ahead and being proactive, because you never know what's in your future. I had a friend recently who was skateboarding, and he did break his kneecap and was surprised at how hard it was to then live on the main level of his home. So you just never know it's coming. The chair lift is a great way to go between floors if you don't need to transport like mobility equipment with you, but it is more of a reactive approach. It's if, you know, later in life, it seems like more people trying to age at home or stay in their homes when they're aging, that they might use these. So part of making your home work for you means that you're going to set it up the way you live. Living rooms of the past were formal adult settings, which now have been replaced with great rooms, where the kitchen is typically connected to the living area. There might be a great big TV and entertainment area. So consider the way you live in your home and what's working for you now. In living areas, a circular seating pattern is not used often because we're most often focused on a focal point, but sometimes it's better for conversation. You know, if you're working with people that are ALS users, then it's much easier if you can see each other and face each other during conversation. And then also, can you arrange the furniture so that there is a nice open walkway, room to move around that furniture piece? A thing that I like to think about too is also your furnishings and the actual fabrics you're using. If you have a furry friend that's on the sofa with you all the time, a proactive approach would be what kind of upholsteries you're using on your seating if they're joining you on the couch. The right upholstery is key here and will save some heartache later. And then one more thing too is this bottom image, you know, while it's a fun, great space, the seating is not equal to the seating that's on the upper right hand side. And the reason is that typically standing and sitting, it's really helpful for anyone to be able to use an arm that helps them push off and stand up and steady and balance themselves as they're standing. Where this looks like a softer arm cushion that might not be as steady, or this chair doesn't look as steady, versus something like this that's a nice armchair, 4-legged, that you can really sit in and push off of, and giving people, you know, some flexibility in seating, and so they don't have to sit on the sofa. They could sit on a chair that's easier to get in and out of. A great solution for anyone, young families especially, is an entertainment center that has closing doors, where you can really hide the clutter and visual distractions of your home. And a lot of people don't like the TV to be front and center in their living space. And so being able to conceal that is a great idea as well. For our little ones, it's great to put the things that they're accessing the most in at the height where they can reach it the easiest, so it gets brought out and put away easily. I want to talk about window coverings. So this shows a couple of different styles of window coverings. You can do layering, kind of a layering of window coverings like you see on the upper left hand, where there's a Roman shade and then drapes over it to soften it. They can really help with acoustic or sound absorption. And so while they are not a great solution for everybody, I recognize that. But if you feel like you do have an echoey room that's causing challenges or discomfort for someone in your home, draperies can be a great solution for that. And it's really nice to have draperies that cover windows and allow you to avoid glare if you've got, you know, the sunset right at that angle that's blinding everyone in the room, it's great to have a window covering. Natural light is a great thing. It's always great to get natural light when you can, but sometimes you don't want your neighbors seeing what you're doing in the room behind. So I really do love these blinds that can go up and down. And so you can pull it down and still keep some privacy, or push it all the way up for openness. Another thing that's really come, oh, sorry, wrong image. But another thing that's come about too is the push button motorized blinds that now you have optimum control and are able to raise it up with just a push of a button rather than having to pull on those pesky cords that get in the way. You can also set them on a timer so that they come up and you don't really even have to think about it, and they go down and you don't really have to think about it. My girlfriend in Arizona, a great example of that is that she loved the windows open all the way every day, but it was not possible for her to get up to the windows to open them every day. So it was always a conversation with her and her husband of, will you open the windows for me, please? And she just loved the idea of being able to have that control at the push of a button for her to have motorized blinds. Growing up, my grandmother had these beautiful sheer draperies that were the most fun to run through and play in. While her grandchildren were her pride and joy, those drapes ran a close second to us. She lived in fear of them being torn down or pulled out of the pulling the hardware out of the wall. So if curtains or draperies are not the right fit for your home, but you still want some privacy and some control of light, indoor shutters are a great solution, and they're very durable, and they can be secured in several different places. As you can see, this one up here on the left shows 3 hinges you could put more in for more stability of those doors if they feel like they're getting open and closed too much. Are there any questions before we go on to talk about kitchens? Okay, we're gonna go on then. So kitchens are they are a working room. So much is happening in kitchens, and they demand meticulous planning because this is where inches count, really, is in our kitchen. So I want you to think about the dimensions in your kitchen, the height that your counter's at, and think about if it's comfortable. Have you ever really thought about that before? You might want to tailor some areas of your kitchen to suit your body type, whether your height, whether you're tall or short. Kitchen planning for a long time has used 36 inches as a countertop standard, but that's not set in stone. Many people now prefer work surfaces that are lower at 34 inches high, and some appliances are even designed to compensate for that lower dimension, like dishwashers are designed to work under a 34-inch counter height, as well as range ovens. And it's a good idea to measure your own comfort range for working and for reaching things in the kitchen. For example, when you're standing at the counter and you bend your elbow to a 90 degrees, that's really about where you want your working area to be, to stop your arm from being fatigued while you're doing a lot of cutting or chopping. And then if you're thinking about where you're putting the dishes or the cups and mugs, you want them at an easy reach point where you don't have to always get a stool or something to step up on in order to be able to reach those things. This is also great to think about when we're planning for multi-generational homes these days. A lot of families are living together with their grandparents. And so thinking about designing spaces that work for both the young and old, and making it comfortable for them to work together. So this shows a great example of some extra workspaces that you could add to your home. These pullouts are, you used to think of them possibly as like old cutting boards. Well, they're also just great surfaces to have as a second area for setting things down. This area on the lower left shows 2 different counter heights. Again, just so much easier for different people to be able to use the kitchen at the same time. And this shows a microwave that's set down low. Again, easy for children to be able to reach when they come home and they want to pop their favorite snack in the microwave after school.
In the chat, there's a question that says, have you ever had a library rolling ladder in the kitchen?
Yes, yes. And I have found them to be a little problematic because they do take up a lot of space. Um, they are great because you don't have to like lift and move a stool all the time. So it does kind of depend on the scenario of what wall they're going on in and what's the circulation around it. But they are fun, and they do have also some really great hardware for that too that makes it look kind of like that barn door, sliding door. Um, so any other comments on that?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, I just said not yet.
Okay, great. So when thinking about work heights, you might want to purchase a table that's height adjustable and try it out. You don't have to demolition your whole kitchen before you know what work height is best for you. So that's a way that you can kind of discover what's the best height for you. So think about the way you work and what areas you might want to put those work areas in. Another thing that I'd really like to show you is these dishwasher drawers. Drawers are actually a lot easier and more comfortable to have as storage in your kitchen, in other areas of storage of your home, because you pull whatever is in there out to you and you're able to reach in the drawer and get what you need, rather than having to bend over. If it's a door unit, you have to bend over and reach the back of the cupboard at a difficult height. So drawers are something we like to install a lot in lower cabinets. Speaking about heights, work heights, have you ever slumped over the sink after Thanksgiving and done all the dishes to find a huge pain in your back later because you were slumped over for so long? Many of us could benefit from being able to take a seat at the sink, possibly, especially if we're going to be there for a long time doing dishes or hulling strawberries if we're doing strawberry jam. Knee space at the kitchen sink is a little bit tricky when you're designing it in. You need to select a shallow sink that supports a seated user, and you need to just choose the sink that has a drain at the back so that the drain doesn't get in the way. But it is worth your while of all the coordination. Some manufacturers like to claim their product is an ADA compliant product, but there's no such certification process. So if you see that out there in the stores, be leery of what they say is ADA. It might not necessarily be, but what you really need is, like I said, the shallow sink with a drain at the back to be able to install it correctly and provide that knee space. And then also at a sink, whether it's the kitchen or bathroom, be sure to insulate or enclose the plumbing to protect legs from hot pipes. So sometimes the pipes underneath will get a little warm. And so just in case that happens, you want to be able to cover those things. This is another image of some great microwave access, one that's down low. This woman here is an adult woman trying to reach over the door that pulled down toward her and put something in the microwave. So you can see how the solution on the left is certainly easier for most people, even, you know, an adult woman trying to get into the microwave. Another thing we can do in our kitchens to make them our own, a small remodel solution, is to change the hardware and put loop hardware on that's easier to grab and pull. And you know, I'm not showing a closed fist there, but you could possibly get a little hook on a loop and be able to pull loop hardware open. Another thing that makes a kitchen dreamy, you know, there's all the appliances, but also the finishes. Being able to clean a kitchen easily is really the best thing. So you want to choose materials that are easy to clean and wipe down. Paint oftentimes at a backsplash gets worn easily and it's not easy to clean. So having an actual hard surface backsplash is a great solution. Okay, I feel like we went through that section break. Do we feel like we need, or quickly, do we feel like we need a popcorn break? Or are we good? Okay, I'm gonna go on then. I don't see any comments. No comments? Okay, good. Everyone still awake? Give me a thumbs up if you're still awake. I know it's getting late.
Quiet group tonight.
That's all right. We had some good feedback at the beginning. Okay, we're gonna go on and we're gonna cruise through some more spaces and then some of my favorite things that I want to share with you. Okay, hopefully that came up good. So talking, oh no, these images got turned sideways. How did that happen? So this is a bathroom I worked on. You're all gonna have to cock your heads. Talk about poor universal design on this slide. Not something everyone can see. But this is an existing bathroom, and then I'll show you the remodel photo, which is much better, much easier to look at. But this bathroom was one that we did recently. And if there's any room in the house that you need your space, it's in the bathroom. So as I mentioned before, I worked with a loving father that wanted a beautiful and functional bathroom for his adult daughter. She's a person with a developmental disability, and she uses a walker for balance. To shower, she always needed support, and the existing bathroom was not cutting it. It was just too hard. There was far too little room to move, and she was honestly really afraid of that shower chair that would lower her, or excuse me, bath chair that would lower her down into the bath. So it became a real challenge. So after careful review of her needs and her desires for her bathroom, we did a lot of analysis of what the space should be that would be the best solution for her and for her caregivers. Those assisting her with her shower, I don't show the shower here, but it was a small 3x3 shower, and they would try to help her and they would just get drenched. And she felt like she had to hurry because they were all wet and she couldn't take her time. And so now we've created a space here that is exactly what she needs to give her the time to go through the routine that she has. And so some of the things that we did here for her, we did a curbless shower. So you can see that this floor, there is no transition really from out here in the main area of the bathroom to this shower area. That's the back right corner. And the way that we did this was with a sloped floor. And it's very gentle slope, so it doesn't throw her off balance, but it provides just enough for the water to drain and for it to not be a big step that she has to get over in order to get into the shower. Then we provided this shower head and handheld shower, which I'll talk about a little further. The finishes in here, she loves rocks. She collects rocks. And so we did a marble veined wall tile that made her think of, rocks and how beautiful they are. She wanted a space that felt warm. And so we used a tile. This is a porcelain tile that looks like wood to really create warmth in the space, along with that warm cherry wood cabinet doors. And then we used a really easy to clean countertop that is a man-made quartz. All these finishes were to her taste and were approved by her. Bathrooms don't necessarily need to be large, but they need to be open and accessible, considering that there may be mobility equipment in here. So for her, she had a walker that she would use, and the caregiver would help her get into the space and get into the locations that she needed to be in for her personal hygiene. But truly, she was able to take a seat in the shower on a shower chair and take the time that she was looking for to enjoy her shower. Speaking of areas that need clean up though, when you gotta go, you gotta go. One of my colleagues found this photo and it's just too good not to share. So I like to share that with you also when we move to talking about toilets. A toilet that is easy to use is easy to get to. So we need to plan for space around our toilets. So often we haven't. In the traditional bathroom, there's always a tub right next to the toilet, which makes it a real challenge for some people to get to, whether it is a caregiver helping to support someone that is sitting, or someone that has a walker, again, or scooter. Notice also in this image that it shows that the shower is open. There's no curb again, and that there is space to move in here. This shows some proactive design. By putting an outlet at the back of a toilet, we are planning for a bidet in the future. If someone needed a bidet or liked having a bidet, that we could put that in. This outlet behind the toilet is also just a great place for a nightlight, for when people are getting up to go to the bathroom in the night. So what a bidet is it, in case you're not familiar with it, but what it does is it alleviates the need to wipe always. It dispenses clean water with various settings, and it often has a drying mechanism as well. Caregivers love these, and it's a great proactive step to personal hygiene, and it's such an important thing to stay clean, to avoid sores or any other health related issues that could come up. This is another image of a curbless shower. This is a great one that shows that this one, the curtain for the shower is not shown hung, but it would hang on the bar up there. It's this kind of a suspended bar for the curtain that you can add later to keep water from splashing out. But this also shows these really, oh, go on.
Pardon, there was a question in the chat about the previous shower, and it probably applies to this one as well. And it says, how does the water not get everywhere?
Good, good.
Yes.
I'm glad they asked. So yes, definitely. This one again had a suspended rod. It supported both at the ceiling and at the walls where you can add a curtain to keep the water in. And then the type of curtains I like to use, if I go back here, these type of curtains here. So there's, you can also do ceiling mounted. This is a ceiling, but what they are is they are a nice heavy weight curtain. And then you can add weights to the bottom as well, so that they don't billow so much when people are showering, and you can close off the shower completely. I am not a fan of glass showers. Too often, people lose their balance in the shower and lean up against the glass. Intentionally or unintentionally, it's not safe. However strong you really try to put that glass in. So it's never my first go-to. A lot of people like glass in, you know, master bathrooms or higher end looking homes, but definitely a shower curtain is much more flexible and safe. So this image here also would have a place for a shower curtain to keep the water in. Because what we do want to do is, while the whole room is set up with tile on the floor, it can get wet, but you don't want water everywhere that can cause a slip hazard or wet area. But this shower does show a really great solution, and the floor is a 3x3 tile that puts less large surface area and creates more slip resistance because there's more grout on the floor as well. And then what they did in this bathroom was to have a contrasting color so that the person would know, you know, whoever the user is, recognizes that they're separating from the outer portion of the bathroom into the shower area. And then contrasting colors of grab bars is really helpful because many of us with soap in our eyes struggle to find where those grab bars are. So it's great to have them really stand out against the background or the tile. So what grab bar is right for you or your family members? A great test. There are a couple different sizes of grab bars. And so a great test is if you were to take your hand up in front of you and make a kind of a pinching circle with your pointer finger and with your thumb. And then what you can do is measure the diameter of that little circle that you've made, you know, like as if you're like peeping through that hole. You measure that little that diameter, and that will tell you what is going to be the most comfortable fit that's going to help a person feel most secure and get the best grip on a grab bar. There are lots of different styles and lots of different colors. As I've said a few times, contrast of colors is just really important so that you can see things that you're needing to access. This image on the left shows quite well that on a white tile, these white grab bars really just disappear, whereas a color grab bar is really going to stand out and help you know where you can find it. On this side, on the right-hand side, a lot of manufacturers have come out with grab bars that they think are pretty or that are less institutional looking. However, they are not necessarily safer because a grab bar was always designed to be either a vertical or horizontal and really be able to grab onto that surface and get support. A circular grab bar like this, not for everyone, but for some, their hand might slip on that grab bar and not provide the safety and support that they need. This is my happy father showing off the bathroom for his daughter. And he's showing here that we have a great grab bar in place for both her stepping into the shower and then also for any caregivers that's providing her support so that if, you know, they lost their balance helping her, anything, they could grab onto that as well. I'm going to move through this slide. So what we have here is an adjustable height handheld shower. So this vertical bar here is also a grab bar, and not all slider bars are grab bars. They sometimes are kind of little wimpy ½ inch or 1 inch diameter, but they're not really a grab bar. So you want to be able to find something that is an actual grab bar, because typically if it's there, somebody's going to grab onto it, and you want to make sure it's stable enough. Then we had, that's the glide bar there I'm pointing to. And then lastly is the location of the lever or the control for the shower. Instead of setting it in the center of the wall, we always set it off to the left. And the reason for this is several, but it's so much easier for anyone when they're trying to get in the shower and not get wet while they're turning on the shower water to be able to reach that easily. So if these curtains were closed and I was going to step into the shower before I did so, and I wanted to get the temperature to the right point, then I can use that lever, which is easier to reach than if it were off to the center. You know, if it were off to right underneath that shower head, it would be harder to reach. And then secondly is if it is a scenario where a caregiver is helping someone with the shower, then they can reach in, turning it on and off as they need to without getting soaked. To talk about sinks or lavatories and counters and faucets, this image on the left shows a faucet that's beautiful, but it's a 2-handle faucet. So you have to turn on the hot water, turn on the cold water. And for some people, that is a challenge, and it causes some fatigue to have to go back and forth to get the temperature right to what you need to do. We want to minimize our movements if we can. And so better is a single lever faucet that has hot and cold control. They can be, yes, very beautiful and not institutional looking, but are just a little bit easier to use. This shows a way that we can do a knee space under a sink and still have great storage set underneath, and it looks beautiful without it having to look very institutional. On the right-hand side is a really fancy vanity that actually moves up and down. It's a power control work surface. So the women that use this love to sit and take time to do her makeup and hair. And sometimes she would stand, sometimes she would sit, but she had the flexibility to be able to do that. Any questions coming up along the way? Okay.
I do have, there is one. Do you know of any solutions in addition to towel for drying off after the shower? My son is not great at getting himself dry. That's a great question.
That is a great question. Yeah, not off the top of my head. I can look into that a little bit more and come back to that, because we talk a lot about how with bidets, it's really important to dry yourself off after you use the bidet. And people will use tissue paper or, you know, the dryer in the bidet. So absolutely still important coming out of the shower as well. So I will look into that and share that with the group later.
Yeah, that applies to my son. Thank you so much for asking. I guess I thought it was just us.
Everybody's in a hurry, right?
Yeah, get out of there.
Yeah. So in this this slide, I just wanted to show, you know, the couple options for floor traction and rugs. Depending on the user, bath mats can be a really bad idea on the outside of a shower. It can become a severe tripping hazard. So I don't always recommend those. However, you can do, I mean, a lot of people are concerned about the wet floor as you step out of the shower. So you can use these little non-stick stickums that can be used on the inside of the tub. They can be used outside as well on the flooring. I know that later on down the road, if you want new ones, they're sometimes really tricky to clean off. So do your research, find the ones that are going to be easier to clean off when you want to replace them. They are a great solution and alternative to rugs.
I have a question. My son, getting out of the bath, places his hands on the outside of the tub, leans on it to, you know, lift his leg over, but that arm slipped and so he fell. So, and now our quick solution is to put a towel there that then doesn't slide and he feels more secure, but I don't know that that's a great solution
Uh-huh.
for term. So
Is he facing the head wall generally when he's getting out, like the wall where the shower head is, or does he face the wall like on this right-hand side?
so in your photo right there, he would be like looking at us, right?
Right.
But yeah.
But when he
Give-
sits on the, oh,
Oh.
so he sits looking at us?
Oh, no, sorry. So he would sit looking at the where the faucet is.
Okay, okay, and kind of straddles there. So my first thought is to go to a grab bar, but if it's on the wall behind him, that's not very helpful. They do have grab bars that can go onto, that hook onto the tub on either
Okay.
side. And I can send a link to you of what that is.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, and they have like a really good mechanism that secures it to the tub. And you can get that on like at like medical supply places. Another thing about grab bars too is a lot of people will try out the ones that are attached to the wall with a suction cup. And I've
Yes.
seen all the videos and I've seen all the tests that they do, and they say it's rated for 150 pounds, but still it is not the same as a grab bar that is set and really installed into the structure of the wall. So be cautious of those grab bars that are the suction cup kind, and be sure to get the ones that are gonna stick into the wall instead.
Thank you.
Okay, so moving on, still in the bathroom, just some last thoughts is, where are the outlets? Are they easy to get to? This is a great idea, is to be able to put them in the drawer. So if you're using a hair dryer or shaver or whatever, that the cord doesn't have to be all over the place all the time. You could set it in the drawer and close it and it goes away. This is one, the image is hard to see, but you can put it in the apron or the front of a countertop as well, so that it's right there in a handy place and you're not having to reach all the way across the countertop to get to an outlet. And then lastly, just to call back to the conversation we had about, heating and ventilation systems. They make really great exhaust fans now that have lighting in them and that are much quieter than they used to be. So they're not nearly as stimulating or bothersome as they used to be. I want to address playrooms because it does seem like a lot of people in the group, in the community, have had children, whether they're children anymore or not. But playrooms are a great place for kids to be able to kind of work things out. They can be sensory friendly and really help to improve children's temperament, their visual, auditory, and then also tactile processing skills. These areas can provide really a sense of calm and comfort and help kids to learn how to self-regulate their behaviors and some of their feelings. And the one on the right here shows one that's like more of a gym or like a physical therapy type setting, where they have all the equipment, things are hanging from the ceiling, and those are really great spaces if you could accommodate that in your home. But if not, the spaces on the left and on the bottom show just some smaller things that you could do. This one on the left is really cute. They tried to make it look like a jungle. They put in, some poles or some decorative, almost tree looking type poles that kids could hang from. They've decorated it with the lights, all these different things that you could just kind of do that would create that space and possibly to do in your home. One thing with anything hanging is that you want it to make sure that it's anchored into a shore joist in the ceiling. So with this sling here or swing, they've definitely anchored it into a beam that's overhead. So, but just some really nice things that you could do in spaces. I want to talk about bedrooms, and who doesn't want to get a good night's sleep? We all need it at the end of a long day. And we want to make sure that we can create spaces that foster that great night's sleep that we need. It'll help us to be fresh the next day and really helps keep our immune system strong and helps us to stay healthy. So thinking beyond the comfort of soft beds and sheets, we want to plan for great storage. And we can do that. This is a great little sketch that we did of trying to plan for this storage in the space where they needed, it was for a child's room, where they needed books and toys and things, but they wanted them to be concealed. This storage not only acts as that storage, but can also act as a way to manage sound. So adding a layer of, what we're adding here was the plywood doors and all of that can help create less noise coming from outside of the room. Of course, carpeting and draperies help with that as well, just like I mentioned in the living areas can help with sound absorption. And we don't want rooms that are too bright and too crazy in our children's bedrooms. We want to keep paint colors that are muted because that will help them really to calm down. I have a lot of friends that like to let their kids choose their paint colors. And sometimes I don't really understand, but I know that it does help kids to have a sense of control over their space too. So I do get that. We do like to as well, these are some fun, again, kids' rooms that are stimulating, but not overstimulating. You can do subtle patterns, muted colors. Here, the main color in the room is on the floor, but it's covered with a very nice sensory rug, shag rug on the floor. So we want to design rooms that are worthy of our little ones' attention, but help them also to soothe at night. So the psychology of color is really fun. And I know that we're getting close to time. I'm really surprised at how long this is going tonight. I expected this to run much faster, but that is really fun to get into, why you choose certain colors, what you're drawn to. And this will all be in a handout that I share afterwards. So I'm not going to get too far into this. This is a cute little girl. I love this image. But we all, through the last couple of years of COVID, have started working in places that we normally wouldn't. So things to think about is, if our children are doing school in their bedrooms, if they were doing remote learning again, is that, really conducive to their sleep patterns later on and during the day, or for ourselves, if we're working in our own bedrooms. One way to alleviate that is to put up some kind of barrier between the two types of space that you've created in your bedroom. So if you have a sleep side and you have a desk side, can we put some kind of barrier that really helps you to create two different spaces in a room? This is a bookshelf. This also kind of shows a bookshelf. This is a desk area here to the left. I love this. This is one of my favorite solutions for a bedroom or anywhere is this floor to ceiling tension pole. So for people that need some additional support or stability as they're standing up, going from a sitting to standing position, whether that be in the bedroom, at the bed, or at the toilet, in the shower, this pole is so great if you don't have a place to put a grab bar, because it's right there. It goes from the floor to the ceiling and can be very secure and help people with standing. So here's a woman loving her life, working from home at her home desk. I wish mine looked like this. But many people really benefit greatly from having a space that is specifically designed for work, which has been a real challenge for us at home these days. But if you can do it, you want to design a space that is productive, where you feel like you can do your best work and you can feel most alive. It's helpful to have a well-organized area with adequate work surfaces that support all the devices that you might be using, whether it's just a laptop or you're working off your phone so much these days. It's important to have a good space dedicated for that. When you're trying to focus, it is great to face a wall. I know it's not what you think is ideal, but having a place where you can really kind of zoom in and focus is helpful for adults as well as children, and keeps us focused and away from distractions. Or having a window nearby that you can look up and give your eyes a little rest, and then get right back down to work. Something to consider also with our offices is that contrast of work surface again. So you can see in this space how it's this beautiful cherry desktop, but the flooring is this gray muted color. So there is definitely a contrast of color that makes it very easy to see and differentiate those two horizontal surfaces. Another slide that I will just share with you for after is proper sitting posture and distances for when you're working. I noticed with my son when he came home and was doing remote learning, how challenging it was for him to sit at the dining room table, and it just wasn't suited to his size, his body type. So we had to make some adjustments and put some props under his bum and legs to make sure that he was set at the right in the right posture so that he did not get too tired and wiggly during the day. Laundry and mudrooms. I love this photo and I love this idea. Let's plan for our pets. Why don't we? So many people have pets. Seattle is crazy for dogs, really. But whether it's dogs or other kinds of pets, any kind of companions, they're part of the household. Let's create a place where we can clean them up easily. This utility sink is the little shower for the dog here. And a great place also, if you don't have pets, to put the plants in and water the plants every week. And those can be set at really any height. They don't have to be down at a low level. They could be up at a high level if you're doing a lot of dog grooming. And also with our laundry rooms and mud rooms, they have a tendency to get messy. So again, with materials, we want to choose materials that are the easiest to clean up. We want some hard surface flooring in there. We might have some water spills. So we want it to have a great texture. So if it gets wet, it's not too slippery. And we have this place that's usually a transition place, right? So some great storage is needed always in a mudroom laundry room. Going on, I want to point out just a couple of key features. If you don't have the big sink for the dog or the big shower for the dog, go with a great utility sink, because you oftentimes need it for cleaning out, stains and different things in your clothing. And if you're going to go with a sink, you might as well have some knee space underneath in case you want to be seated there as well. Washer and dryers are easiest to access when they do have the front loading. So if you're looking for new washer and dryers, rather than having to bend over and get into the top access or reach up high if they're stacked, just some two side by side front loading are the best way to go. Storage. This is another great image of a transition space coming in from outdoors where you have some room to move and to put things away. So you're not constantly tripping over whatever you're bringing in the house. Most often we see packages, we see bicycles, we see skateboards. So many different things get left at the doorway, whether it's from the back door or the front. So some great storage. A storage wall is a good solution for that. Drawers are helpful. Again, they're easier to reach into, but if you have hanging things, it's nice to have some big wardrobe where you can have some rods. But adequate storage is really what's going to eliminate clutter in your home. And there are some unexpected places where we can add storage. I love this photo of some pull-out units that go under the stairway for coats and backpacks and shoes. Here's a couple of my favorite things when I'm trying to organize a space. There's these adjustable drawer organizers. So these panels here, I don't know if you can see them very well, the gray panels, those are the ones that are adjustable, and they're just basically a plank that's adjustable in length. So you can use them in the kitchen, you can use them in clothes storage, in your chest of drawers in the bedroom, to be able to really divide up an area of a drawer quickly and easily. And keep things organized, so you're not trying to dig through too many places to find one thing. And then these little shelves, or well, not shelves, they're actually little drawer units. The space underneath the sink, if you don't have knee space and you have a closed space under your sink, both in your kitchen and bathroom, that space always seems to go to waste. So whatever you can add that's small, but still contains certain things in those spaces is great. These are just little drawers that kind of can go between the drain underneath and give some great storage under there. Outdoor spaces. I want to talk about these. They again became much more of a focus with COVID because people were tired of being in their homes all the time, especially through the summers, wanting to be able to get out and not necessarily be in the public spaces. So a growing body of evidence really has pointed to the positive health benefits of engaging with nature. It doesn't have to be, really, you don't have to be hiking to be able to really get some of these benefits. So even just being in your own backyard space, one woman mentioned that they enjoyed gardening. This is a great little garden solution where rather than having to bend all the way down to the ground to do some gardening, it's a raised garden bed or flower bed. That's really helpful. And then just to have some fun seating wherever you are, that creates really some vibrance and some ambiance for where you can just gather with family and loved ones, enjoy your space. I mean, this is a beautiful solution where you could bring the outdoors in by having these large doors that open up. But just to create a place where you can get out, you can grill, you can enjoy time in the outdoors. If you don't have those spaces, if you live in a condo or an apartment, you don't have those spaces necessarily. So what can you do in your home still to bring the outdoors in? This is one of my new favorite, focuses, is just because it's so helpful to have some nature around, some organic textures, some they call it doing some biophilic design, is to bring the outdoors in with not only plants and greenery, but also in the types of patterns you choose. They're more curvilinear, like with nature, or the colors that you choose, and having some natural lighting from skylights. Those kinds of things can really help bring the outdoors in. I love this image of these, these great big windows where, you can look out and see the greenery. You might be in the middle of the city, but at least you have this little portion that's green to enjoy. And one last way to bring the outdoors in, one of my favorite things, again, is these doing some sky blue ceilings. It really helps you kind of feel like the space is lighter and like you're getting some outdoors in. So having a great color of blue on the ceiling, and then great lighting that helps it feel bright and light. Then also bringing in, textures and colors and patterns that really make you think of the outdoors. This is actually the outdoors here on the right with this outdoor patio and porch. And that's all I have for you tonight. Thank you so much for this. I do want to just remind you, my goal was that at the end of tonight that you'd find at least one or two things that you can relate to and start to implement or think about using in your home. So that is my hope for you. And I hope that you also feel empowered to move forward and make some of those changes that you want to make. And I'm happy to answer any other questions that have come up.
Thank you so much. I think I will stop the recording just to give a little bit more freedom
Okay.
for questions. And then